with us here at CNN News 18. You're watching Nation at 5 with me, Ridhima Bhatnagar. Lots to cover over the next 60 minutes. And we're beginning this edition with a big CNN News 18 exclusive, courtesy our investigations editor Manoj Gupta. We're going to bring you what's really taking place in Xinjiang in China, specifically as far as their state-run boarding schools are concerned, where we now understanding there is massive discrimination at play as far as Uyghur students are concerned. These are students who are given no access to their native language, in fact forced as far as the official language or Mandarin is concerned. There are many harrowing accounts that are now coming to light. The UN has also now taken note. What we're also understanding is these students in a way are being discriminated and being raised quote-unquote as orphans. But the discrimination doesn't end just with the students itself. The discrimination in fact moves to the parents of these students as well, who in fact are being sent to concentration camps. Many are saying that they're being treated as prisoners. Before we bring in experts to try and understand how we should read this move, let's break down some of the key details in terms of what are these accounts that have come to light and also the sequence of events that we've been able to establish. And as I pointed out, many such accounts that are now coming to light, they've gone on to say that these Uyghur kids in fact are separated from their parents. But as I pointed out, the discrimination is not restricted just to the students itself. The kids are then sent to these hostels where they're assimilated. As I pointed out, they're being raised quote-unquote as orphans. As I pointed out earlier, the parents are also sent to concentration camps. What we're also now picking up are that these Uyghur parents who in fact are sent to concentration camps are in fact being treated like prisoners. More details also coming to light saying that the United Nations in fact is not talking about the concentration camps. Let's break down some other details as well. No access to education in the Uyghur language, exactly what I pointed out. There is a sense that there is more pressure that is being built just as far as the official language, which is Mandarin. They are facing pressure to speak and learn only Mandarin, being completely cut off as far as their native language is concerned, which many experts are now saying this is not just discrimination, it's a violation of rights and in fact will have a direct impact as far as the growth of kids are concerned. Let's also now bring in some experts. We have senior fellow ORF Sushant Sareen who is joining us on the broadcast. Sushant, good evening. Always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you for taking up time. How do you see these accounts that are coming to light? Not the first time that we're speaking about the Uyghur discrimination, but how do you see specifically what is happening in these schools?
No, I think it's extremely disturbing and distressing to hear of these accounts. But this is, strangely enough, this is not the first time something like this is happening. In many Western countries, stuff like this has happened, although many, many decades ago, when, the original inhabitants of those countries were put in these kind of camps, their children taken away, and you create a new generation of people, carry out a kind of cultural genocide. Turkey has done it and probably is still doing it with the Kurds. They forbid the Kurds from speaking in their language or teaching in their language, and a kind of a cultural genocide happens out there so that people are simply detached from their cultural roots and become some kind of, quasi-Turks or whatever. The Chinese, of course, have taken it to a whole new level. They have done this to an entire community in one of their, what they claim to be one of their provinces, and it's purely done because they think that anybody who's not a Han Chinese is not a Chinese, and they simply refuse to accept any kind of cultural diversity. They refuse to accept any kind of any adherence to any religion other than the Communist Party.
Yeah.
And this, when this starts happening to small children,
Sure.
Families being torn apart, I think it's extremely disturbing, but it is what it is.
Sushant, as you rightly pointed out, that this also shows a larger pattern at play, that this is just a complete rejection as far as diversity is concerned. And as you rightly pointed out, and this is the concern that's being raised by many, that this in fact will have a direct impact on the growth of kids. But if you look at the accounts that are coming to light, this is not discrimination just against the students. There's discrimination happening at a larger level for the parents and the families as well, to completely ensure that both are isolated. The parents are also being sent to concentration camps, many saying being treated as prisoners.
Look, what is very disturbing is, of course, that what is happening to small children. But what is happening in Xinjiang is basically a massive crackdown on an entire community. It's not just a cultural genocide; it's actually a genocide which is taking place, where you are simply eradicating an identity. You are eliminating all vestiges of any kind of diversity, and you're doing it to an entire community. It doesn't matter whether it's an old man of 80 years old or it's a young child who's going to school. Families have been torn apart. People have been taken away and put into concentration camps for years on end. Even senior officials, including Communist Party officials who worked as henchmen of the Communist Party, their puppets to further this kind of an agenda, even they have now been picked up. So it's an unending, unrelenting kind of a genocide which is underway out there.
Yeah, Sushant, I'll just request you to stay on with us, because we have another foreign affairs expert, Rubinder Sachdev, also now joining us on the broadcast. So good to have you with us here on CNN News 18. As I was discussing with Sushant, it is extremely unfortunate to what is happening to these younger kids, and this will have a direct impact as far as this growth is concerned. But what is also concerning is the kind of reactions that are coming in, maybe from bodies like the United Nations, who are taking cognizance of what is happening, but there is no real solution that is being put to play. There is no real conversation that is happening of the existence of concentration camps.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, there is amnesia, or kind of, just wishing it away. And no proactive, concrete steps or suggestions which are out there. These are becoming forgotten issues, unfortunately. And, that's what actually is very much required to be now in a reformed world, or a new world which is under reconstruction. There has to be more, empathy and response to such. That's the bottom line. But another thing, it has to be talked about. What happens is that these issues kind of go to the backside of the memory. These matters need to be brought out and need to be talked about. Someone somewhere should hopefully wake up, or we should be pushing. By we, I mean not only India, everyone, whoever can, worldwide.
Okay. Unfortunately, I will have to leave that conversation there. Appreciate Rubinder Sachdev and Sushant Sareen joining us here on CNN News 18. Let's now shift our focus and talk about the other big story that we are tracking, which is what is happening between India and Canada. That diplomatic standoff only continues to escalate, and the recent comments that have come in from the External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. Jaishankar, he's only reiterated India's position that Justin Trudeau and his government first needs to take a closer look at what's happening on Canadian soil before levelling allegations of these sorts against India. Remember, the External Affairs Minister was speaking at the UNGA, and he in fact has gone on to say that just because of political convenience, these comments cannot be made, because they're not going to be a long-term solution as far as counter-terrorism is concerned. And as I pointed out, he's also gone on to reiterate that the Canadian authorities and administration first need to take a closer look at what's happening on Canadian soil because of the kind of activity that still continues there as part of various gangs. Before we break down all the details of what is the kind of evidence that we have to prove or what is happening on Canadian soil, and the larger question that still remains in terms of where is the evidence for all the allegations that have been made by Justin Trudeau. First, let's listen in to what the External Affairs Minister had to say.
Canada actually has seen a lot of organized crime, relating to, the secessionist forces, organized crime, violence, extremism, they're all very, very deeply mixed up. So, in fact, we have been, talking about specifics and information. We have actually been badgering the Canadians. We have given them a lot of information about organized crime leadership, which operates out of Canada. There are a large number of extradition requests. There are terrorist leaders who have been identified. So do understand that there is an environment out there. Our diplomats are threatened. Our consulates have been attacked. And often comments are made about, there's interference in our politics. And a lot of this is often justified as saying, well, that's how democracies work. If you have to understand what is going on out there. And our concern is that, it's really been very permissive because of political reasons. I'm not part of the Five Eyes. I'm certainly not part of the FBI. So I think you're asking the wrong person. I'm not part of the Five Eyes. I'm certainly not part of the FBI. So I think you're asking the wrong person.
Well, that's the word that's coming in from India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar. Now let's break down some crucial details. As we pointed out, this is also an important time for Canada to take a closer look of what's happening on Canadian soil and to answer the question that is Canada now becoming a safe haven as far as these extremist elements are concerned, and also what's happening in terms of gang wars. Let's break down all those details and let's give you some recent examples of what has happened. Riputman Singh allegedly killed in a gang war. At that time, you have Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who in fact was blamed. Then you have Hardeep Singh Nijjar allegedly killed by Riputman's supporters as well. You have Sukhdev Singh as well, killed in gang wars. Bishnoi gang takes the blame. So what is the kind of action that is being taken against these various gangs that still continue to make key decisions on Canadian soil? But let's also now break down some other details in terms of why does Canada continue to become a safe haven as far as these activities are concerned. We here at CNN News 18 have also put out various details in terms of what the NIA has also exposed. So let's break down those details as well. As we pointed out, India time and again has highlighted that there is a flourishing K network in Canada, and it is possibly the inaction for a vote bank that is leading to these episodes only increasing. India has also time and again raised concerns with Canada over gang wars. We just broke down some of the details of what has happened in the past. You also had the former Punjab Chief Minister who said that Canadian soil in fact is being used against India, something that the NIA has also said time and again, that there are decisions that are being taken on Canadian soil as to how they can increase terror activities in Punjab and many other states. As I pointed out, let's break down the details in terms of what the NIA has said. The NIA said there are 6 wanted gangsters who've turned radicals in Canada, and that's not all. The NIA has also said there are 13 drug smugglers in Canada for several years, once again leading to the question that what is the kind of action that has been taken by Canadian authorities. The Punjab police has also said that 7 most wanted gangsters in fact flew to Canada. So is there Canadian authorities turning a complete blind eye as far as these activities are concerned? The Punjab police has also said K-backers providing support to various gangsters. We've broken the details in terms of where these gangsters are getting their money, where they're getting their funding, where they're getting their drugs from as well. The Punjab police has also gone on to say support to carry out anti-India activities. So will the Canadian authorities finally wake up and take some action of what's happening on Canadian soil? Because as I said, this comes 1 week after Justin Trudeau made those allegations against India, but still hasn't been able to put out any credible proof or evidence. Let's take a look at some other important conversations and reactions.
At the same time, as we put great emphasis on the importance of equality, we also have to uphold the values of free and democratic societies. We cannot bend the rules of state-to-state relations for political expediency, because we've seen and continue to see the extent to which democracies are under threat through various means of foreign interference. But the truth is, if we don't adhere to the rules that we've agreed to, the very fabric of our open and of our free societies may start to tear.
So I made comments on this yesterday. I can restate them here, which is that we are obviously quite concerned about the situation in Canada. We've cooperated closely with our Canadian counterparts, and we have urged India to cooperate in that investigation, and will continue to do so. And India remains an important partner of the United States. We work with them on a number of issues, but of course, on this matter, we urge them to cooperate with the Canadian investigation.
First things first, we're all still appalled by the manner in which, the very public manner in which the Prime Minister of Canada went up in Parliament and made these grave allegations. And it's been a week and we're still waiting to see what's the evidence to back those claims. And I just put out what the Washington Post today said, no interviews conducted with the eyewitnesses, no interviews of the homeowners or business owners around there for any kind of CCTV footage. Surely, for such a high-profile crime, what explains this rather ham-handed nature of the investigation?
Well, I wish I could answer that. It's completely bizarre, as you've said, and I think there are two tracks. There is the political track, and then there is the criminal investigation, but both seem to be sorely lacking in terms of answers and evidence. The Prime Minister's statement in Parliament that kicked off this explosive controversy, he speaks of credible allegations. Well, at a criminal standard, that doesn't meet even the most basic threshold of reasonable and probable grounds. And not to get into the legality, but this is an open murder investigation. And I have never seen anything like this in my career, both as a prosecutor, my time in Parliament, my time in government, where the head of state essentially fingers another country in such a broad and defamatory way without any evidence. Now, look, some evidence must exist. There must be some shared intelligence, either signal intelligence or human intelligence, that points to certain individuals, perhaps in government, but none of that should be, in my opinion, playing out in public. If they hope to apprehend those responsible, you need cooperation from the Indian government, and accusing them in such a blatant and public way doesn't lend itself or bring about the type of cooperation that you would want in an open murder investigation.
Before the last election, Justin Trudeau went all fire and brimstone against China and Chinese meddling in Canadian politics, interference in Canadian elections, etc. But ever since that whole Meng Wanzhou case, which was the daughter of the Huawei founder, and she was released in exchange for 2 Canadian nationals, he's been accused of going soft on China. A lot of Canadian commentators are asking if this whole brouhaha around Khalistan and making these public allegations against India is a convenient diversionary tactic from the accusation against Trudeau that he's gone soft on China.
Well, one would certainly hope not, given the stakes. And at this point, 8 years as Prime Minister, one would hope that he has come to understand the importance of his role and everything that he says diplomatically. I wouldn't put this down to malice as much as I would to incompetence. We saw something happen yesterday in the House of Commons when the Ukrainian president was visiting, and we had a former Nazi participant, albeit a Ukrainian, who fought against the Russians in the gallery that was recognized. We cannot forget as well the serious incident of the Air India bombing that happened, that originated from Canada. And so one would hope the Prime Minister has a much firmer grasp of history, let alone reality, and not just trying to change the channel here.
Let me first ask you, how would you see this entire Khalistani saga that's now unfolding?
Well, it's a very difficult situation. It's a difficult situation for India. Canada has got itself into a difficult situation too. And of course, there are other countries as well that are watching this all unfold, and they're watching it very closely.
But how is it that this activity is largely in the Five Eyes, the five allies who are supposed to help each other with intelligence inputs? If you see the trends, most of the Khalistani activity or this extremist activity has unfolded on the soil of these nations, be it Australia, New Zealand, the UK, America, and of course, Canada.
I think that's one of those kind of historical accidents. That's where the diaspora has spread. So we've got sizable Indian diasporas in each one of those countries. We've also got sizable Sikh diasporas, and of course the Sikh diaspora, takes up a bigger proportion of the diaspora as a whole overseas. So while it might be a very small population within India, it's a much larger population, in Australia, where I think the last count we had here in Australia, I reckon around 40% or so of our Indian diaspora comes from Punjab or from nearby, and many of those obviously are Sikh. So just as a result of that accident, and because of then the activism and some of the militancy that we've seen over the last couple of years, that's why it's concentrated in these places and perhaps not in other areas.
But majority of the Sikhs have rejected this agenda outright. If there is no traction for it in India, clearly there is no traction there on these. So it's a handful of elements. So my next question is, so did the Five Eyes turn a blind eye to it? Or did it actually happen under their watchful eyes?
Have been aware, in Australia, I think we've been very aware of what's been going on in Canada and the United States and in the UK as well over the last few years, that this kind of militant element, which as you say is a very small proportion of the population, has been growing more vocal, perhaps attracting more support and so on. I know that it's being watched carefully, but whether or not there's been enough kind of proactive intervention in those communities, that's another question, I think. And so I think that's where, and I've written about this as well, where some of the governments like Australia needs to look more carefully at how they are managing this issue as it's grown up in the last couple of years.
Would you support Justin Trudeau for what he did under credible allegations and credible reasons to go outright and make those statements on the floor of Parliament? Or would you have wanted him to vet all the intelligence inputs with proper investigation on ground, thoroughly vet the charges before making an allegation like this?
Well, it's a very serious allegation to make. And as you're suggesting, it's quite a big step to take diplomatically to go and stand up on the floor of Parliament and to declare these things. I think if it had been, if I was advising a Prime Minister, this would probably not be the best track that I would support. The Canadians have argued that they have raised these issues diplomatically prior to the G20, that Trudeau had raised it with Mr. Modi during the G20 summit itself. And so the Canadians have argued, well, they've been frustrated, they haven't got where they would like to go, and so this is why Mr. Trudeau has ended up in the situation that he has. But it's a big step to take, and it is risky. And of course, if you can't immediately provide evidence that's going to be convincing in the court of public opinion, then that becomes quite difficult.
Well, we'll keep tracking all these developments and a lot more. Time for us to slip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back with lots more.
That is a survival drama. It talks about tales of despair, it talks about tales of hope and those of unsung heroes as far as the Kerala floods are concerned. Floods and stories that Kerala had not witnessed in decades together. All of that was brought from real to real, and that is going to be India's official entry to 2024 Oscar Awards. On that note, slipping into a quick break, back in just a few minutes. India's Oscar entry has now been announced. We're given to understand that Malayalam film 2018 is the official entry to the Oscars for 2024. That announcement has just come to the fore a short while ago. That press conference was happening even as we speak. Vishal Chatkara, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more details on this. Yes, Vishal.
Well, congratulations to everybody, because 2018 film that celebrates the spirit of people of Kerala has been chosen as India's Oscar entry. There was a lot of anticipation around other films, other Hindi films like the Kerala Story, but the jury actually shortlisted 22 films, and out of that they watched each one of them, and there were a lot of hype around this, but this Tavino's Thomas Starrer is the winner. It talks about people of Kerala who came together to help each other during the 2018 flood. It starred Tavino Thomas. Many congratulations to the director, to the team, and now all eyes on at the Oscars. where the film will be competing in the official foreign language film category.
And Vishal, it wasn't just a critically acclaimed movie, it was also a commercially hit movie, isn't it? It was the highest grossing Malayalam film of all time, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the figure I'm not aware, but yes, it's a highly acclaimed film. It starred Tomino Thomas, and not just the film actors who spoke nicely about the film, but also actors like Dulquer Salmaan who spoke and complimented filmmakers and the people of Kerala, who repeatedly said, how in 2018 the way they managed the floods, and it's a big win and a very apt choice for Indian film to be reflected at the Oscars.
Absolutely, like you said, the shortlist was of 22 films, but this is the movie that has been chosen by the jury, by the panel that was looking into what India's official entry is going to be. 2018 is the Malayalam film that is going to be India's official entry into the foreign category. It is a survival drama, if we could say so, as far as the Kerala floods are concerned, of tales of despair, tales of hope, and the bravery that was shown by many. The unsung heroes really were what was celebrated in this movie, Vishal, isn't it?
Yes, truly. I have to also speak about the other films which were doing the round. There's a film called Vati, which talks about, a debate over government-funded education. It's a Dhanush starrer against the private schools. That was also being talked about. Then there was a film called Bhagwan Bharose, that's the Srirajitya's directorial debut. That was in the running. I was talking to a couple of jury members before the big announcement. They were saying they're very particular. They don't want to repeat what happened last year in the Oscars. They got a lot of flack, I think, for sending. Or they were not a flack, but it was quite controversial when the Discovery decided to send Cello Show instead of RRR. So they really want to sit and select a film that reflects the true sense, the spirit of India to the Oscars.
Right, Vishal, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that. Neetu, my colleague, also joining us to get us more perspective on this. Neetu, we've been talking about India's official entry to the Oscars. This is a Malayalam film, one that is critically acclaimed, one that was commercially a hit as well. What are the kind of reactions that we are seeing? Have you had any word from the cast to the crew? Were they expecting this?
See, 2018 was a huge hit. It was a huge. It was a Malayalam film based on the 2018 floods that the state had witnessed. In 100 years, the state hadn't witnessed something like this. So this movie had all aspects of the 2018 floods. It was very well accepted commercially as well as critically. So we are yet to get word from the makers of the movie. But the news just coming in is that this has been selected as India's official entry into the Oscars.
It was a 17-member panel, Neetu, that decided on which film is going to make the cut. 2018 was chosen the winner. And in the past, we've seen several criticisms come to the fore as far as Oscar entries are concerned. But perhaps this is going to be either unanimous decision, so to say, or there are very little faults that are going to be found with this particular decision, don't you think?
Yes, that's what we think, because as I said, even when the movie released also, it was well received. There has been several criticism earlier related to the entries from the country, especially when it comes to entries like this. There's always been concern from the southern industries, especially from the Malayalam industry, that their films are not really considered. It's only one section of the movies that are considered. But this time, all this has been laid to rest. There has been huge technical aspects also involved in this movie, because we saw the extent of damage and how the floods were in 2018 when it had happened in the state of Kerala. So they had created all this, the flood situation, I mean all this. So technically also it was at a different level.
Right, do stay on with me. Jude Anthony is now joining us on the phone line. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Congratulations to you, first of all. Your first reaction to being the official entry of India to the Oscars.
I am really thankful to the people of Kerala for staying together during the flood time, and this is a tribute to the Kerala people, the Malayalis, the Indians. So I'm very happy and I'm very much honored to get this. I can't express my happiness over the phone. I'm really happy.
Absolutely, Mr. Anthony. Was this expected, or were you surprised when this announcement was made?
I was very much surprised to get this call. I am so excited. This was not expected, and thank God, thank you to the film fraternity of India.
One last question before I let you go. Have you spoken to any of your cast or crew members? Have you spoken to...
No, this is the first call I got regarding the same, so I have to call them after this call, get connected and disconnected, and I have to call my family, or everybody will be waiting for this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN.
Welcome back. Thanks a lot for staying with us. Let's now shift our focus to the other big story that we've been tracking, which is that will one nation, one poll become a reality as far as India is concerned? Now we're understanding the Law Commission of India, in fact, has gone on to say that they will need more time for some more discussions, more deliberations to submit their final report. But sources within the Law Commission also telling us here at CNN News 18 that many of them believe that if one nation, one poll, in fact, is implemented in India, it will be in the national interest, because many of them feel that once this is implemented, this could actually have a bearing on the voter turnout as well. In fact, the voter turnout could increase if this becomes a reality. Let's in fact bring in our legal correspondent Ananya Bhatnagar, who's been tracking these developments for us. Ananya, help us understand what we are hearing as far as the deliberations, the discussions that have already happened, and the kind of time that is still needed before we have a conclusive report that is out.
Well, what we have been given to understand at this point of time is that some more meetings are required by the Law Commission of India to actually finalize it and conclude its report with regards to one nation, one poll. And very, very categorically, what is the view of the Commission is that it is in national interest, something that would save a lot of finances. And not only that, but it will also increase the voter turnout, since the elections would be held after a substantial period of time. In fact, talks are also underway with regards to making some constitutional changes, some constitutional amendments, in order to make this process a little more flexible, keeping in view the various conditions and, in fact, various outcomes of one nation, one poll, and that's the reason why, in fact, it is taking a little more time. However, the finalization of the report is underway. The indexing and formatting is also being done by the Law Commission of India. In the next few weeks, we might see that a final conclusive report, a final view of the Law Commission would come in. Remember that this was a reference that was given to the Law Commission of India by the Ministry of Law and Justice. And post that, the Law Commission India, the 121st Law Commission, and then this particular Law Commission, that is the 122nd Law Commission, is also studying this subject of one nation, one poll. And now a final view is to come in. Remember that a committee also has been formed by the government, headed by ex-President Ramnath Kovind, which will also be deliberating on one nation, one poll, and in fact, it has also invited the views of the Law Commission. So how much of it does it play up? How will the one nation, one poll play up is something that we'll have to wait and watch for. But it is very, very unlikely that it is about 2029, before 2029, that this could be actually implemented. Ridhima.
Okay, Ananya, we'll have to leave that conversation there. Thanks a lot for getting us all those details. Let's now shift our focus. Let's now talk about Vibrant Gujarat Summit, which in fact is in its 20th year. Our viewers would remember that this is an initiative that was started by then Chief Minister of Gujarat, who is now the Prime Minister of the country. And while speaking earlier in the day, he in fact also laid out his vision of how he sees India in the next years. Let's take a look at this report.
An investors' summit that was started in 2003 has now become an institution. A model replicated by many states after Gujarat paved the way 2 decades ago. Gujarat was and will remain the economic growth engine of the country, was the Prime Minister's message at the Vibrant Gujarat Summit this year.
2014 में जब हमें देश की सेवा करने का अवसर दिया, तो हमारा लक्ष्य भी विस्तार हुआ और हमारा लक्ष्य था कि भारत दुनिया का ग्रोथ इंजन बने। आज भारत दुनिया की सबसे तेजी से बढ़ रही अर्थव्यवस्था है। अब हम एक ऐसे मोड़ पर खड़े हैं जहां भारत ग्लोबल इकोनॉमिक पावर हाउस बनने जा रहा है।
Recalling the criticism he received when he started the initiative, Prime Minister Modi said that then central ministers refused to attend the event and foreign investors were threatened to not invest in Gujarat. He said that Vibrant Gujarat became a success even when the previous UPA dispensation was indifferent to the industrial progress of the state.
विदेशी इन्वेस्टर्स को धमकाया जाता था कि गुजरात मत जाओ। इतना डराने के बाद भी विदेशी इन्वेस्टर्स गुजरात आए।
On the sidelines, the Prime Minister visited other areas of Gujarat as well and inaugurated various developmental projects worth 500 crore rupees. He even inaugurated projects under the Mission Schools of Excellence, development works of roads and buildings, urban development, science and technology, and water supply departments. Thousands of party workers lined up the streets from Ahmedabad to Vadodara to Chota Udaipur, just to catch a glimpse of the son of the soil as he visited his home state.
Let's now shift our focus to the other big story that we continue to track very, very closely, which is the ongoing Cauvery water dispute. Yesterday, we had seen how pro-Kannada outfits protested in Bengaluru, and there was a call for Bengaluru Bandh as well. Today, in fact, we did see a lot of protests come in from the BJP. And after solidifying the alliance with the BJP, you did see the JDS stepping in as well. Remember, yesterday, we brought you the first reaction of the Chief Minister Siddaramaiah also, who hit out at the opposition parties saying that it's unfair to politicize this entire issue. He in fact had also gone on to say that the reason that Section 144 was imposed was to ensure that people don't take law into their own hands. So it looks like this is an episode or a dispute that is not going to scale down anytime soon. Let's take a look at some political reactions coming in.
Condemning the state government in continuing the release of Cauvery water to the neighbouring state of Tamil Nadu, BJP MLAs, MPs and former Chief Minister S Jaishankar, including many other leaders of the BJP, have gathered here in front of the Gandhi statue in Vidanasauda, raising slogans against the state government over the release of Cauvery water to the neighbouring state of Tamil Nadu. As you can see in the visuals, this protest here in Vidanasauda is headed by former Chief Minister S Jaishankar, who is accompanied by various other leaders of the BJP party who are raising slogans mainly against the Chief Minister as well as the Water Resource Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister DK Shivakumar. What the BJP here is raising slogan is that they are calling the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister the agents of the state Tamil Nadu, and further adding that the alliance, the India alliance, is one of the major reasons why the Karnataka state government is releasing water to the neighbouring state of Tamil Nadu to maintain their interest with the DMK party in the India alliance. Now remember, yesterday there was a Bangalore Bandh. Many farmer organizations as well as pro-Kannada organizations accompanied by BJP and Aam Aadmi Party held the protests in Freedom Park in Bengaluru, and the protests only continue here in the state of Karnataka, only escalating. The BJP party and many other leaders of the Aam Aadmi Party and pro-Kannada organizations have also called for a Karnataka Bandh, and the protests are only intensifying.
See, we are challenging the orders of the regulatory committee before the Supreme Court. I have discussed with the advocates and they have opined that it should be challenged.
The present Congress government, the state government has not taken this Cauvery issue seriously. It has never dealt the Cauvery issue seriously. Their careless approach towards the Cauvery water issue has created such a crisis in the state of Karnataka. Farmers are literally on streets. Day by day water is flowing to Tamil Nadu, and Tamil Nadu is successful in getting water for the third crop when our farmers are struggling to get water for their first crop. So this is a grave situation which Karnataka, especially this Cauvery river basin farmers are facing when Supreme Court has constituted Cauvery Water Management Authority. When your government and when your officers have failed in convincing the authority, how can Prime Minister can intervene in this issue?
They asked us to release about 3,000 cubic water. For that only we are sitting dharna here. Our MLA, MLC, MPs, only about 25-30% we are going to sit dharana. Afterwards, we will take decision what should be the future fight about our. We are going to take the Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and Shivkumar. They must know they should not behave like a Tamil Nadu agents. They must realize the actual facts. In almost all our reservoirs, water is not at all sufficient for even drinking purpose. Even then, they are releasing the water. That means they are behaving like a Tamil Nadu agents. That's why we are protesting today.
No, for the first time in the state in Bangalore city, we have taken an initiative to interact with the IT/BT companies so that we understand them better, their problems, their issues, and also we can tell our responsibility, what we are trying to do for them. So this initiative has been taken by the Bangalore City Police for the first time. So we are going to have this every year so that the problems will be resolved. Now, a lot of suggestions have come, good suggestions have come, and they have also come forward to partner with us in resolving so many issues at the police level.
ತಾವು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರಿ 24,000 ಕ್ಯೂಸೆಕ್ಸ್ ಅವರು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು ತಮಿಳ್ನಾಡವರು. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಕೊಡಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮು ಹೋದ ಬಾರಿ 5,000 ಕೊಡಲೇಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆದೇಶ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟನ ಏನು ಮಾತಿಗೆ ಬೆಲೆ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬಿಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅನಿವಾರ್ಯವಾಗಿ. ಈಗ 3,000 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಅದ್ರ ವಿರುದ್ಧವಾಗಿ ಅಪೀಲ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದಲ್ಲ, ನಾವು ಕಾನೂನು ತಜ್ಞರ ಜೊತೆ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ತಗೋತಾರೆ ಅವರು. ಆದರೆ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ನಾನು ಪುನರುಚ್ಚರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಈ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರ ಹಾಗೂ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯಗಳು ಒಂದೇ ಇದೆ.
When there is no rains, Cauvery issue becomes very serious. So this year also rains have failed us. Water is not available. And we are finding it difficult to release water. One side, Supreme Court and Cauvery Tribunal, they are saying so much is to be released. We are saying where is the water. So this situation is how to solve it. When there is distress, we need a solution. We cannot just say because for us after October there will be there will be no rain. And if we don't have water, then from October till May, we have to manage with whatever water we have. So it becomes very critical for us. So that is what is the issue. And we are doing our best to make them understand the situation.
Well, we'll keep tracking all these developments and a lot more. For now, we're slipping into a very short break, coming back with lots more.
Co-powered by
Congratulations to you and to your entire team. We do hope to catch up with you and the team perhaps later in the day as well. But thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. 2018, the Malayalam film is official entry of India to the Oscars. It was a 22 shortlisted movie list, out of which we now see 2018 as the chosen one. It is the chosen entry to the 2024 Oscar Awards. This is a film that is a survival drama. It talks about tales of despair, it talks about tales of hope and those of unsung heroes as far as the Kerala floods are concerned. Floods and stories that Kerala had not witnessed in decades together. All of that was brought from real to real, and that is going to be India's official entry to 2024 Oscar Awards. On that note, slipping into a quick break, back in just a few minutes. India's Oscar entry has now been announced. We're given to understand that Malayalam film 2018 is the official entry to the Oscars for 2024. That announcement has just come to the fore a short while ago. That press conference was happening even as we speak. Vishal Chatkara, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more details on this. Yes, Vishal.
Well, congratulations to everybody, because 2018 film that celebrates the spirit of people of Kerala has been chosen as India's Oscar entry. There was a lot of anticipation around other films, other Hindi films like the Kerala story, but the jury actually shortlisted 22 films, and out of that they watched each one of them, and there were a lot of hype around this, but this Tavino's Thomas Starrer is the winner. It talks about people of Kerala who came together to help each other during the 2018 flood. It starred Tavino Thomas. Many congratulations to the director, to the team, and now all eyes on at the Oscars. where the film will be competing in the official foreign language film category.
And Vishal, it wasn't just a critically acclaimed movie, it was also a commercially hit movie, isn't it? It was the highest grossing Malayalam film of all time, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the figure I'm not aware, but yes, it's a highly acclaimed film. It starred Tomino Thomas, and not just the film actors who spoke nicely about the film, but also actors like Dulquer Salmaan who spoke and complimented filmmakers and the people of Kerala, who repeatedly said, how in 2018 the way they managed the floods, and it's a big win and a very apt choice for Indian film to be reflected at the Oscars.
Absolutely, like you said, the shortlist was of 22 films, but this is the movie that has been chosen by the jury, by the panel that was looking into what India's official entry is going to be. 2018 is the Malayalam film that is going to be India's official entry into the foreign category. It is a survival drama, if we could say so, as far as the Kerala floods are concerned, of tales of despair, tales of hope, and the bravery that was shown by many. The unsung heroes really were what was celebrated in this movie, Vishal, isn't it?
Yes, truly. I have to also speak about the other films which were doing the round. There's a film called Vati, which talks about, a debate over government-funded education. It's a Dhanush starrer against the private schools. That was also being talked about. Then there was a film called Bhagwan Bharose, that's the Srirajitya's directorial debut. That was in the running. I was talking to a couple of jury members before the big announcement. They were saying they're very particular. They don't want to repeat what happened last year in the Oscars. They got a lot of flack, I think, for sending. Or they were not a flack, but it was quite controversial when the Discovery decided to send Cello Show instead of RRR. So they really want to sit and select a film that reflects the true sense, the spirit of India to the Oscars.
Right, Vishal, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that. Neetu, my colleague, also joining us to get us more perspective on this. Neetu, we've been talking about India's official entry to the Oscars. This is a Malayalam film, one that is critically acclaimed, one that was commercially a hit as well. What are the kind of reactions that we are seeing? Have you had any word from the cast to the crew? Were they expecting this?
See, 2018 was a huge hit. It was a huge. It was a Malayalam film based on the 2018 floods that the state had witnessed. In 100 years, the state hadn't witnessed something like this. So this movie had all aspects of the 2018 floods. It was very well accepted commercially as well as critically. So we are yet to get word from the makers of the movie. But the news just coming in is that this has been selected as India's official entry into the Oscars.
It was a 17-member panel, Neetu, that decided on which film is going to make the cut. 2018 was chosen the winner. And in the past, we've seen several criticisms come to the fore as far as Oscar entries are concerned. But perhaps this is going to be either unanimous decision, so to say, or there are very little faults that are going to be found with this particular decision, don't you think?
Yes, that's what we think, because as I said, even when the movie released also, it was well received. There has been several criticism earlier related to the entries from the country, especially when it comes to entries like this. There's always been concern from the southern industries, especially from the Malayalam industry, that their films are not really considered. It's only one section of the movies that are considered. But this time, all this has been laid to rest. There has been huge technical aspects also involved in this movie, because we saw the extent of damage and how the floods were in 2018 when it had happened in the state of Kerala. So they had created all this, the flood situation, I mean all this. So technically also it was at a different level.
Right, do stay on with me. Jude Anthony is now joining us on the phone line. Sir, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Congratulations to you, first of all. Your first reaction to being the official entry of India to the Oscars.
I am really thankful to the people of Kerala for staying together during the flood time, and this is a tribute to the Kerala people, the Malayalis, the Indians. So I'm very happy and I'm very much honored to get this. What do you say? I can't express my happiness over the phone. I'm really happy.
Absolutely, Mr. Anthony. Was this expected, or were you surprised when this announcement was made?
I was very much surprised to get this call. I am so excited. This was not expected, and thank God, thank you to the film fraternity of India.
One last question before I let you go. Have you spoken to any of your cast or crew members? Have you spoken to?
No, this is the first call I got.
Welcome back. Thanks a lot for staying with us. Let's talk about news from the aviation space. We have a big update as far as the Noida International Airport is concerned. Remember, this is going to be of significance because it is expected that it will take a big chunk of the traffic that currently goes to the IGI airport here in the national capital. What we're now understanding is the Noida International Airport, in fact, has received a 3-letter code by IATA. It is DXN. We're also understanding that the first phase, in fact, will be complete by the end of next year. Now, this phase will cater to 12 million passengers, and the commercial flights will also begin in this phase. I had a conversation with the CEO of the Noida International Airport earlier in the day, and this is what he had to say. Christopher, I want to now understand in terms of specifics. We do know there's going to be 4 phases as far as this entire project is concerned, which will span about 37 to 40 years. Let's talk specifically as far as phase 1 is concerned. When are we expecting phase 1 to be complete? Which means when are we expecting the doors to open as far as phase 1 is concerned?
So we're planning to deliver airport infrastructure to accommodate about 12 million passengers by the end of next year. So that'll be the first phase, the phase 1, to which we're all working at the moment. And we've prepared a master plan, and in partnership with the government of UP, we've developed a master plan that will see the airport grow to accommodate over 70 million passengers with time.
Okay, so you're saying by the end of 2024, which then if you go back as far as the last few months of 2024 is concerned, I'm guessing that's when the testing will happen?
Yeah, so what we'll see over the next few months is, of course, construction activities will continue. A lot of the construction activities moving from outdoors to indoors, fitting work, a lot of then partners coming on board to prepare their concessions, to prepare the F&B space, the retail, the shops, to prepare for operations. And in parallel, we're ramping up what we call the operational readiness process. So identifying the processes, identifying the training that will be necessary, and ramping up and building up, recruiting the team. So works on the runway as well as the taxiway are in progress across the entire length. So the runway will have 3,900 meters. A runway is a bit like a pastry with many, many layers, and we've started now the first layer of pavement, of subgrade pavement, and those works will continue over the next few months.
Let's now shift our focus. This is an ongoing series that we're focusing very closely here on CNN News 18 in terms of why are we seeing so many malfunctions in lifts across the country. Today we bring you a story from Maharashtra. A young life was cut short because of malfunctioning in a lift, and 3 months on, the family of the victim is still finding it difficult to get some closure. Our colleague Yesha Kotak with this report.
It's been over 3 months since the death of a 10-year-old, Rudra Borhate. But that day is fresh in the memory of his mother, a day she hopes she never saw. A malfunctioning lift has changed the lives of Rudra's parents forever.
We are today at Lalubhai compound, which is in Manpur. This is the building number 1 of Lalubhai compound, where in June, a 10-year-old child lost his life because of the lift's collapse. This is the same lift. Right now, like we see, the lift is kept off. When we spoke to family members of the child, the deceased, they said that since the last few weeks, the lift has been kept shut. In fact, the society was also trying to ensure that the lift is put into operation again. But ever since this incident took place, the family has sought PVD clearance, and they've said that there was a problem with the condition of the lift. There were several such instances of lift having collapsed and injuries being reported in and around this area, which were reported, as a result of which they filed an FIR and they've ensured that the lift is shut until then.
Priyanka sent her son to get some groceries on that fateful day. When he got onto the lift of his building to get home, it shot past the 5th floor on which they stay at an unusually high speed and stopped at the 7th floor, leaving a gap of 13 to 14 inches from the floor. Rudra tried to step out of the elevator, but fell into the gap and down the elevator shaft.
उसको सामान लाने भेजा था, वो गया था, सामान उसके हाथ में था, आने के टाइम पे वो आया बराबर, वो जैसे वो चौथे मतलब 5वें फ्लोर से वो गड़गड़ होने लग गया ना, तो वो डायरेक्ट ऊपर गया, तो ऊपर जाने के बाद वो बाहर निकलने की कोशिश किया, पर उसको निकल नहीं पाया। उसके बाद में वो कोशिश कर रहा था, वो टाइम पे हम लोग नहीं थे, तो मैं आवाज़ दिया मेरे लड़की को, रुद्र रुद्र, तो आया नहीं। तो कोई तो बोला कि किसी का बच्चा गिरा है, मैं बोली सबका बच्चा है, सब बोलने लगे सबका बच्चा है, तो मैं बोली मेरा बच्चा नहीं है। तो नीचे जाके देखा तो मेरा लड़का था। एक दिन पहले भी लिफ्ट खराब हुआ था, हाँ बंद चालू हो रहा था, पर ये लोग ने बंद नहीं किया। हमारा 9.5 साल का लड़का गया, अभी तक उसके सदमे में हमारा आदमी तो पूरा डिप्रेशन में गया था।
After the incident, an FIR was filed against 5 people in this case, including the secretary, chairman, treasurer of the society and the lift technician for causing death by negligence. The cops added section 34(2) for acts done by several persons in furtherance of a common intention. The accused were never arrested because they received bail on the spot. And even after the 90-day mandate, Rudra's family hasn't been informed of the charge sheet in the case.
हमारा जो खजीनदार था उसको हमने मेरे भाई ने मतलब बोला था कि लिफ्ट खराब है तो लिफ्ट आप बंद करो, मत चालू रखो। तो खजीनदार ने वो सुना नहीं और लिफ्ट चालू रखा। 7 तारीख को दूसरे दिन सुबह मेरे लड़के के साथ एक्सीडेंट हुआ, तो ये सारे गलती ये सोसाइटी का और ये कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का है। पर इसके ऊपर कुछ अभी पता नहीं क्या एग्जैक्टली हो रहा है। एफआईआर तो हो गया है, पर एफआईआर चार्जशीट हुआ या नहीं हुआ मुझे कोई बता रहा नहीं प्रॉपरली।
The child's family members alleged that lift was malfunctioning for several months, and the contractor who was responsible for the death of another youngster in an adjoining society was made to work on the lift to save some money.
जिस दिन रुद्र का ऐसा हो गया उसी दिन से लिफ्ट बंद है। और पहला 2-4 दिन पहले मेरे बच्चे लोग ने बताया था कि लिफ्ट जब ख़राब है तो लिफ्ट चालू मत रखो, तुम लोग क्यों चालू रख रहे। तो फिर भी उन लोग बोला कि नहीं लिफ्ट में आता है चालू करके जाता है, बोलता है हम लोग पूछेंगे तो मतलब सही हो गया, पर सही नहीं हुआ था। ऐसा ये हमारे लड़के के साथ ना और 2-3 जन के साथ भी हुआ था, पर इन लोग ने हम लोग से छुपा के रखा था। बाद में जब पुलिस स्टेशन में गए तभी सब मतलब बच्चे का ऐसा हो गया, तभी एक जन के मुंह में से सब निकलने लगा।
CNN News 18 tried to contact senior officers of Mumbai police from the area, but there was no response. Unfortunately for Rudra's family, justice continues to elude them. With Yasha in Mumbai, Bureau Report, CNN News 18.
Is there no concern that they issue death threats against Indian diplomats? They're now particularly targeting Hindu Indo-Canadians, and the government seems to be doing nothing.
India now getting a chance to drop the diplomatic niceties after Trudeau's initiative. What does this mean that you have to have parity in your consulate strength? He's got no arrests to show. The killers of Hardeep Nijjar are still unknown.
Why is there no quota within quota?
There is also no constitutional provision for reservation in the name of religion. If you look at the Congress's proposal by Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, was that women from the SC/ST and other women per se will not receive reservation for 15 years. In fact, she had curtailed the reservation to only 10 years.
Good evening. This is Viewpoint. My name is Toya Singh. As you can possibly tell from the screen behind me, today we are looking at the issue of one nation, one poll. This afternoon, the Law Commission met to finalize its report on a highly contentious issue. This is an issue, remember, where we've seen much debate, much back